Hi everyone, I'm Irene, and to some I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a student, but to the world I'm one of the most hated persons, a feminist. Feminists are often seen as men haters, but we don't hate men. All we want is equality. We actually stand against injustice and oppression, including all races and sexual orientations. So then, what is feminism? Is it a philosophy? Is it a theory? Or maybe a point of view? No. It is a political movement. It's about recognizing that gender equality is a promise for a better future and not a threat. It's a promise for an equal world for everyone. Now, in a world where patriarchy still holds the power, being a feminist is not just a choice. It is a necessity. Because if we imagine and picture this. Imagine a world where the lives of women and gender minorities are not cut short due to senseless acts of violence, and where survivors of sexual assault are met with empathy and support. This is not an utopia, it's not an imaginary world, this is the feminist vision, and the one that we must strive to achieve all together. Now, I mentioned senseless acts of violence. Those are actually part of a bigger culture rooted in our society, the rape culture. And rape culture is part of a bigger issue, gender-based violence. What is gender-based violence? We often hear this term in these days, especially in these last few years. So the European Commission defined as gender-based violence any kind of act of violence against a person because of that person's gender. So what does it mean? Because it's still quite not tangible. So it can take many shapes and forms. Between the most well-known ones, there is domestic and sexual violence, female genital mutilation, trafficking, often for sexual purposes, and femicide. Now, where do all these kind of acts of violence come from? Why do we do this? How can they affect us? And often I ask myself, how can people be this evil? When I hear news and read articles about these femicides or acts of violence, I just don't understand how can we do this. And are we as a society collectively responsible for these acts of violence? There is no easy answer, unfortunately. And if I had to give an easy answer, it would be that it doesn't just affect me individually, but it affects us collectively. It is important to understand that it's not about isolated cases of violent men, but about a system that perpetuates gender inequality in multiple forms. Gender-based violence is rooted in the foundation of our society, which means that it's structural. It is fueled by harmful gender stereotypes, damaging cultural norms, and institutions that often ignore and maintain in place these inequalities. I understand, now I give you a lot of terms. I understand you can be overwhelmed, so don't worry, at the end of my talk, I will give this paper to each one of you, so you can look at the definition again and take it with you at home. I want to tell you about my story, why I'm here and why I'm telling you this. I started my expedition, I'm doing my professional expedition, and I started it researching about sexual positivity, sexual empowerment, and sexual health, and how to make it more accessible to everyone. Until a couple of months ago. 2 months ago, I'm Italian, for who doesn't know it, yes. So 2 months ago, in Italy, something happened that shook the whole society. On the 18th of November, the Italian police found the body of the 105th victim of femicide of 2023. So as November 18, 2023, 105 women were killed. After the body of this girl was found, the Italian people started to riot, to go in the street, to scream for better protection and more equality from the state and from the government. But as I said, this is a structural problem. It is rooted in our society, so it's not that easy to dismantle. As of December 2023, the number of victims went up to 119. 119 women were killed. They were victims of femicide. And femicide is not a deviation, it's not something that happens randomly. It's not an anomaly in our society. It has become the norm because it's actually the result of power, culture, and social dynamics that converge in sad and tragic outcomes. So often, and now I don't want to take anyone's side, but often the people that commit these acts of violence know what they are doing, and they are also victims of systemic failure in our society, and they are under the pressure of societal norms that are often taught to us involuntarily by our surroundings. Some could be, sit properly, you're a lady, you should not cry, you're a man, man up. And I'm pretty sure we all have heard this during our upbringing. And this statement actually creates a toxic subculture in our society that is damaging for the individual and society. This culture is called toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity refers to a set of norms and behaviors regarding the traditional male behavior. So what does it mean? It means that encourage men to be dominant and aggressive. That is a culture that normalizes or even glorifies violent behaviors. Toxic masculinity creates a power dynamic that often manifests in manipulation, controlling behaviors, and in some cases, physical violence. Also, it creates a culture that objectifies women and normalizes non-consensual behaviors. Additionally, it can foster misogyny. So, this is why it is important to address toxic masculinity when dismantling gender-based violence. This I've reached the end of my talk, and I would like to address the men that I know and the men that they know to join me in this fight, to challenge the system. I want you to call out your male friends that check on his girlfriend's phone. Call out your friend that is catcalling women on the street. Show that you're hostile to this kind of behavior that our society accepts. I believe in a future without gender-based violence, in a world where men and women can live free from fear and subordination. And this is not just my vision and my dream, this is the feminist vision and the one that we must strive to achieve all together.